There are many contradictions and riddles in the history of Russia. There are also extraordinarily strong personalities. One of these is Joseph Stalin. In the 1960s, his cult of personality was erased with the destruction of every monument all over the USSR. Nowadays, there is an increase in scientific and public interest in his character. Today, we are standing in front of the monument cemetery, where the statues from the USSR are junked into one place. One of them is the monument of Stalin. Some have returned to their original spots, while others remain forgotten. Communists are lobbying for the restoration of the monuments and have already placed new ones in different areas of Russia. Many people oppose this idea. However, the government has no clear position regarding the status of Stalin and his monuments. Suppose the memorial stands to immortalize an idea. What are we trying to remind ourselves with the new monuments of Stalin? Why is he a hero for some people and a tyrant for others? Does one deserve to be immortalized in stone if his hands are covered in blood? Or do we choose to monument his figure for the political accomplishments and ignore the rest?
Говорит Москва. Вознаменование победоносного завершения Великой Отечественной войны советского народа установить, что 9 мая является днем всенародного торжества, праздником Победы.
Why is his figure so important to Russians today? First of all, because history connects the name of Stalin with victory, the only historical symbol that unites everyone in our society. The second reason is the skyrocketing economy and industrialization of the country. The USSR grew into a universally recognized superpower from a country destroyed entirely twice as a result of the revolution and civil war. Despite the complete financial blockade of the country, Stalin managed to turn a backward agrarian country into an industrial power. In 15 years, construction of shipping channels, roads, train tracks, and power plants followed. In the eyes of today's Russians, it manifests itself both the fact that we are the only ones opposing the world, and in fact that we have forced it to reckon with us. He shared the world with people. It is yours, and everything else will be ours. He became a father to them. Even during the leader's life, a large number of objects were named after him, among which were factories, cultural centers, and settlements. Hundreds of monuments were erected all over the state. People who suffered daily from shoddy work of state institutions, utilities, and other services had Stalin who would defend them. British historian Isaac Deutscher underlined the core of Stalin's historical achievements. He had found Russia working with wooden plows and is living in it equipped with atomic piles. Of course, today we remember the cost of these achievements. Tens of millions of people died in World War II because of weak and irresponsible management. Millions of people became victims of repressions in gulags, the concentration camps for Stalin enemies. These people were the real heroes of industrialization. Now that we managed to find out why his personality is essential to Russians today, let's look at what happened to his monument after his death. Just like most of the tyrants, he died alone in his house. Millions of people came to the Red Square to accompany their leader in his last way. After he was buried in the crypt, the government officials later decided that Stalin's severe violations of Lenin precepts, abuse of power, mass repressions against honest Soviet people, and other actions during the cult of personality make it impossible to leave the coffin with his body in the Lenin mausoleum. On the night of October 31st to November 1st, 1961, Stalin's body was taken out of the mausoleum and buried in a grave near the Kremlin wall. From this point, the Stalinization began. People soon claimed that Stalin was a murderer. Every monument was destroyed, and the cult of personality was erased from the textbook and propaganda. In the 90s, with the destruction of the USSR, the process of de-Stalinization stopped. But there was no direct recognition of Stalin either. People heard two messages. First, that Stalin repressions were terrible and this period was tragic. Second, that all the country's leaders for all the time of its existence since ancient Russia all deserved to be remembered well. The second message became the reason for the gradual restoration of the old monuments. Of course, every new monument is opposed by people. They call Stalin the murderer of mothers and children. These dark archives of Russian history will never be forgotten. Building a new memorial of Stalin reminds us of his horrible tyranny and repressions. Government has no official response to it. It delegates the final decision to the local authorities. Our government is cautious with dealing with the cult of personality because it might affect the current Putin reality. However, it is frustrating to see veterans of war and labor finding the new idol in our president today. Stalin's character made an impact through several generations. Russian political life changed its face, but the principles remain. It circles around the cult of personality. Let's think about the monument's purpose, as reminding future generations of past mistakes or achievements. In this case, do these monuments have the right to exist? Will they point at possible errors we have made or making now? Coming back to this monument and others that have been constructed recently, I feel that people want to immortalize one of the most contradictory characters in Russian history. We will always see people arguing about his impact on the war victory, the rise of economy, and industrial growth. But questioning the idea of the monument, do we take all of that into account? Is it fair to the people who died under irrational leadership and repression to monument Stalin's power? Is it fair to destroy the monument of someone at all who has the authority to erase other personalities from the state's history? Seems like I got more questions than answers. I hope you'll find yours.